welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's the coach, Philip Roybal, and we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Oni Kuno himself. Sean, welcome to the show, my friend. Glad to have you on finally.
I'm easy to book. He just hit me up on, you see me on Twitter, like, can you join the show? I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah, we figured you'd have you about some of these things, so welcome in, man. Coach, it's good to have you back as well. Been a few weeks, man. Well, have some hoop going on, man.
Yeah, it's great to be back. You know, my 8-year-old grandson has been hooping it up, and so we finished the last playoff game last Tuesday night. Which, by the way, I have to brag on him a little bit. He had a hell of a night. Big night. So we were really proud of him.
You put up 50 on him or what?
Well, for him, I mean, you know, he's a third grader, but he put up 12 points and had about I want to say it was 14 rebounds. He had like 6 assists. I mean, he just went off.
That's awesome.
Surprised the hell out of me. I mean, because he's 5'2" as a third grader. He's 5'2", but he's also 5'2" wide. And so
he's got the round mound of rebound going on. He's like old Chuck Barkley, round mound of rebound.
Exactly. So
that's awesome.
But no, it was good. I'm just glad to be back though.
That's freaking cool. Hey, welcome into the show, everybody. Sooner Legends podcast. Mike, Mars Jams, Hankster. Welcome in, everybody. We only got a few in here. Timothy Green, what's up? What's up? Welcome in here. Glad everybody's in here for now. Hopefully we get a few more in here. Go share us. Make sure you wiped your feet before you came in. Hit that like button. And if you are not already a member of, all these Sooner fans in here, I know all you guys watch Oni Kuno.
I promise you there's a few that left if they saw me. I make some enemies like over the years that are like, oh, I hate that guy. I hate him.
No, they were all the guys on this channel love you. So they were freaking, they threw that video out there on the Discord like immediately when it popped up. So because that's what I immediately put it up there too. But yeah, so guys, talk a little bit. Coach, I've been wanting to get you back because we wanted to talk a little bit about Notre Dame to the Big Ten, but I thought we could start off talking a little bit about this deal with Andy Staples. And as you guys probably saw, he had like a little bit of a proposal for, what he thinks it could look like moving forward at some point. 2 super leagues, SEC, Big Ten. I don't see that he's got Notre Dame in there, right? Yes, he does. Right there. They're there.
Yeah, so they're grouped right there with their driving distance rivals, as you can see with Michigan and Michigan State.
Kind of have to, right? I mean, you know, that seems like the right thing to do. But anyway, what do you guys? I mean, I'll go to you first, Sean. Tell me what do you see. First off, do you see this happening soon? Do you see it happening at all? Do you see any differences? Do you think this is ludicrous? What's up?
There's a lot of questions, and I'll try to answer them in order if possible.
Well, you can just say whatever your opinion is.
I am a fan of Andy Staples. One, because he's an adult and he actually does his homework. Because I always judge national people how they talk about my team, and he's like, I don't understand why Oklahoma doesn't get benefit of the doubt more often. But anyway, he's like, they should. But Super League, like, I think the funny thing about the Super League, because I know there's a lot of talk about, if you listen to Andy Staples or listen to a lot of the other national guys lately, there's a feeling it could potentially happen in like 18 months. And because the talk about the Super League, whenever it gets brought up, that's like 10, 15 years down the road. Well,
everything moves at breakneck speed. I doubt that.
Well, the point I'm getting at is, you know, when we first really started hearing about a Super League, if you've been following this craziness, like, because I'm a junkie when it comes to news like this, remember when Nebraska finally got the ball rolling, they left to go to the Big Ten, and we thought we were going to get the Pac-16, and Colorado jumped, and Utah jumped, and we were waiting for the Big 12 South teams, and then, like, because every day that offseason in 2010, it's like every day in college football life, here's what the Big Ten could look like. That, like, all that stuff was 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
So they were talking about this is not going to happen for 10, 15 years. Well, guess what? 10 or 15 years is like right now. So whenever people saying, oh, it's like, no, we've been talking about this for a minute and no one should be too shocked.
I started this show. It'll be 2 years in July that we've had this show. And we were talking about this before. Like early on, we were kind of predicting, right at the start of all this stuff when Oklahoma and Texas had made their decision to go to the SEC. Then all of a sudden UCLA and USC decided to make the jump to the Big Ten. And we said right then, I said, they better merge with the Big 12 right now or else they're toast. Because, and you could tell what was going on. You could tell what was going on, man. Crazy stuff. Hey, yeah, Mizzou. They're fun, right? Those guys are full of shit. Sorry. But yeah, no.
I got to rant down the road probably.
You could tell what was coming, right? You could tell what was coming. So, hey, what's up, Duke Silver Sooner? Good to see you in here. But hey, to me, I think you could see this coming. We were talking about Notre Dame then. I've been of the opinion that I thought Notre Dame might end up maybe saying, screw the Big Ten because of the way that they did them all those years ago. But everything that I've been seeing, Coach, and I wanted to throw it to you, everything that I've been seeing saying, yeah, we're going to do it. It's probably going to happen within the next 2 years, at least to that part of it. So this may be coming together quicker than you think. This Florida State thing blows up. It could happen anytime, right? Coach,
Absolutely.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I think, like you said, Jason, we've been talking about this for, like you said, a couple of years now. And even as Sean alluded to, it's been longer than that there's been discussions going on. Obviously, for the long haul, the years past, we had too many guys. We had too many of the traditional coaches that were involved in this process, and we're not going to allow that to occur. I think we see now that a lot of those coaches are gone, and so we're obviously seeing a lot of these changes, and obviously some of them are gone because of these changes, and these changes are moving at mock speed. I think initially my whole thought was instead of the Super League of 2, I thought we were going to see 3. And I'm still not sure that's completely out of the question at this juncture.
Yeah.
But, I'm an old traditionalist. And what I say to all this stuff is, fuck you. I don't like this shit. Okay? I don't like this shit. And again, obviously I'm not going to because I'm an old bastard. And I like how college football, for the most part, I mean, obviously some changes needed to be made. But I like the way college football was. I think we're we're not changing incrementally. We're moving at mock speed. And we're not even worried about, we're talking about even the playoff next year. Hell, we hadn't even gotten into the 12 teams, and some bitches are already talking about 14. I mean, and we hadn't even played a damn down of football with the 12-team bracket in there. So it's moving so damn fast. I don't know what to expect from day to day. I'm not sure anybody does. But
no, you're not wrong.
I'm not a big advocate for the Super League. And you can look at it; it's all over the damn place. Like was mentioned just a little while ago, they're within walking distance of Michigan and Michigan State. Yeah, but hell, we fucking played all over the country for years, and so who really gives a shit that they're within walking distance? And so I don't know. I'm personally, as you can tell, struggling with all this stuff. But here we go. I mean, no telling what the hell's going to happen. And obviously you have the SEC and the Big Ten that are pushing everything. Notre Dame is the only thing, and I've said it before, the only reason Notre Dame will go into the Big Ten is if they're forced to do it.
There it is.
Because of, number one, money. But the truth of the matter is, and we've talked about it before, money is not a big deal at Notre Dame. We got billions at Notre Dame. So money's not the issue. Now, the issue could be where they want to pull those billions from to supplement, because, let's be honest. I mean, if you've got somebody in one of those other leagues and they're making, a few million more every year, well, year after year after year, that tends to add up to lots of damn money. And so I think that's one reason they could move. And the only other reason, obviously, would be because of the playoffs. At this juncture
Not letting
right now,
them in.
the best seed we
That
can
was
get
the
right
question
now
I
is the
had
fifth
for
seed.
you.
Yeah.
That was the question I have for you, is that, look, theoretically, you look at this schedule this year, it's doable for Notre Dame, right? If you go end up number one in the season, number one in the country at the end of the year, and you got to play the number 4 seed, that's not, how happy is that going to make anybody? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And as it is, you're not going to get one of those 4. There's going to be a Big 12 champion, probably with 2 losses, that's going to go in front of Notre Dame. And look, playing 3 rounds rather than 4 is definitely beneficial.
Well,
I mean?
but I'll say this: it is. But I think we can back up a little bit and talk about everybody always bitching about Notre Dame not playing a conference championship. So that basically that game would become our conference championship game, and then. Yeah. There's a balance in there somewhere, but again, my struggle is, let's say Notre Dame just happened to have a great year and they're in the top 4, or let's say that's, I'm not saying they're going to, guys, don't go crazy on me here. Okay. Let's say they went undefeated. Okay. Because we have an OU-like schedule this year. Kind of like OU had last year.
Okay, here we go.
I'm just picking at you. But here, I know. Breathe.
Get him. Get him.
But you know what I'm saying is, we have a schedule, a patty cake schedule. We have 2 or 3 games in there that could be good games. But let's say we went 12-0, and we could be ranked number 1 in the country and not even get seated in the top 4.
That's what I'm saying. And so
that's the bullshit
you would think that Notre Dame has enough power that wouldn't have happened. But Sean, what do you think? Do you feel like, it seems to me like right now the SEC and the Big Ten are flexing? I think that to me, I almost feel like I heard Josh Pate say this on somebody's show yesterday, that he thinks it may have been what they've kind of thrown out there, a bunch of automatic bids, which I think auto bids are stupid as shit at this point. If you want the best teams or you don't want the best teams, what is it going to be? You know what I mean? And
I don't have a problem with some automatic bids. Like, if you win a championship, I think that deserves, like, I'm the type of guy for years, like, just tell me what the direct path is without some talking head on television changing his opinion every week, saying why game control matters or my strength of schedule was good 2 weeks ago. Now it's
just like the Big 12 did this year.
It's like, if you would have told me 10 years ago, look, if I could just win the Big 12 and have a spot, that's what I care about. Now we're getting to the avenue of like the top 3 or 4 teams. Like, okay, I understand people going nuts over that. I totally get that. But the whole Notre Dame thing, you kind of mentioned it earlier. I was going to at some point bring this up, but like, everyone's trying to figure out how to get Notre Dame to join a conference. And here's the thing. You have to put the figurative gun to their head to get Notre Dame to do anything, because once upon a time, back in 1920 something, Notre Dame played in a Rose Bowl once. But then they decided we're not going to play bowl games anymore. Something about finals or whatever for the kids. The kids got finals, darn it. And so the polls, the AP poll, the UPI poll, they would award the national championship before bowl season. Then all of a sudden, Alabama started losing a bunch of bowl games, and everyone's like, really sucks our national champion keeps losing in bowl games, doesn't it? And then, so the AP changed their mind in the late 60s, and then it's like, okay. But the UPI is still there. But then sometime in around 1972 or 3, they said, we're going to start awarding the title after the bowl games. And Notre Dame's like, hey, guys, those bowl games you've all been talking about these years, those sound like a lot of fun. Can we get in on that? Because Notre Dame cares about one thing and one thing only, despite the fact not winning one for a long, long time. They want access to play for the national championship. That's all they care about.
Absolutely.
Like, I think for Notre Dame.
Who does it? And who does it?
For Notre Dame, ironically, they technically played for the ACC a couple of years ago, which was weird for everybody. It was a weird time for everyone.
Yeah.
COVID screwed up a lot for everybody. Well, we won't go into a rant on that because someone's going to go down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. But it's, I think Notre Dame would rather always have 0 conference championships than just have like 1 or 2, because then it just makes you look weak to an Oklahoma who's got 50 and Alabama who's got like 30 plus. They don't want to go down that. We just don't have conference titles. So again,
we really don't give a shit.
Yeah, you've proven that. You've proven that.
We do things our way. It's not done.
Yeah, it makes you the pompous Notre Dame, Irish people that we've hated for decades.
Exactly. And I love the shit out of that.
Yeah. So
it's like, hey, here's to you guys.
Oklahoma against the world, Notre Dame against the world. That's when
everybody's against
right in the world is when everybody hates you. That is when you know you're good.
Y'all love it. You know what? And talking about all this, and Jason, you and I have talked about this. There's a lot of similarities between Oklahoma and Notre Dame.
You take that back.
No.
He's talking currently as we speak, where the programs are at. I kind of agree.
No. There's a lot of similarities right now as we speak.
Yeah, I think competitively speaking, I think they're pretty close. Look, I think that there's some things we're gonna have to find out about both of these programs this year, as they go into what, obviously Oklahoma going into the SEC. Notre Dame, hey, I like their quarterback last year too, and I love the way that their physicality. I like Notre Dame, and I like their chances.
Fucking hair is what I liked.
I liked it when they beat the shit out of SC.
I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that particular night of watching games. I would be a liar.
It was fun.
But hey, that was a non-conference. That was a non-conference loss. They still had everything ahead of them after that.
They did.
Yeah, and they lost 4 more. But yeah, for Notre Dame, it's but you literally have to force them to change. And I think there was go back to the COVID year. The ACC had a chance to do it because they could have said, Notre Dame, we want to play a schedule. It's like, well, we could add you to the ACC for 1 year, but you got to sign a long-term contract that you're joining as a football member permanently. Blah, blah, blah. It's like they could have done that, but they didn't go down that road. I know a lot of people were rooting for that just to see it happen.
It's because they knew it wouldn't happen. That's why they.
Of course.
Well, and the other part of it was when they tried to join the Big Ten back in the freaking early '60s, whatever that was, because of the Catholicism part of it, Michigan and Ohio State made sure that couldn't happen. And I know that there's a lot of people close to that program that are still involved in that program that have still said to hell with the Big Ten because of that. And there's no love lost there either. I think it's a great move for them to do it. I do believe that they can. I think it's the right place for them to be. But I think that think you're right. I think that at this point, now we could go back to looking at this a little bit, but I don't think that you're going to end up having. I don't think it's going to be 2 power conferences. I just don't think that. Number one, I don't think the SEC wants to envelop that many more programs. I don't think they want to add more than 4 tops.
No, they you're right on that. Like and what you're seeing, that's just a wish list for Andy Staples. He wants to see
Yeah,
because he wants to see the K-States and the Texas Techs a part of it. And I understand the appeal to that for college football because
Sure.
I'm an elitist snob when it comes to college football. I'm all for a super league because and it's not to it wasn't necessarily to stop playing the Techs or the K-States of the world per se. It was just it got to a point where it was like, why are we playing East Popcorn State? Why are we still pretending to do this? And,
No,
that these games matter. And you know, I would have these long talks with my dad on road trips over the years. He's like, well, you know, it funds their football programs and everything. It's like, yeah, Dad, but it gets to a point where it's like, you know, unless we actually had to, unless we were, you know, stuck to had to find someone last. We didn't play FCS teams unless we absolutely had to do it. They still run their programs, or they still find a way to do things. So it's just not everyone should be promised to have a football program. I'm sorry that sounds mean. It sounds like snobbish for me to say that, but it's just.
I think the FCS should have its own playoff.
They do. The FCS does have their own playoff.
The FCS does. No, I mean the non-power 5, the group of 5, whatever, group of 6, whatever you want to call it.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say
that.
It's funny you say that because I used to work at a radio station here in Orlando, and this was back when Scott Frost was still the head coach at UCF, and I was a board op producer for a sports show here, and it was a drive time show, so it was like they're trying to figure out, you know, because they wanted UCF in the Big 12 bad way back, like this is back 2016 and so forth. I'm saying, guys, what if the group of 5 all got together and they said, you know what if we had our own playoff system? And they literally did the monkey, you know, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. They wanted nothing to do with that. And I was just like, guys, I hate to tell you, but one day this is probably going to happen. And whether you're in the boat or out of the boat,
at this point it has to, guys. I mean, and the reason is I mean, it's not really that hard to talk about why. That if you don't, then they're not going to have playoffs for 2 months. They're not going to do it, you know, and you're not going to look. There's going to be so many that are left out. The other thing that they can do, rather than, I feel like even if the ACC folds, the Big Ten will take what they want. The ACC or the SEC will take what they want of the ACC. Then the Big 12 can envelop the other schools. They can stay relevant. They're a basketball conference that matters. They can stay relevant within that, and they can do just an entirely different subdivision, which is what I think is going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I think the NCAA, the way they survive is that, you know, even the president has talked about out loud. It's like, maybe we need to create a new subdivision for the big boys. And because the one thing they don't want to lose is the NCAA basketball tournament, because you can take away the SEC and the Big Ten and still try to have it. It's not going to be the same. Like just most of those are football schools, granted, but you want to have, like, that's what makes that tournament great, is the combination of the big boys and the small schools, because basketball is just is a much easier sport to compete at than football. It just is. That's just the truth.
Sure. No, there's 5 guys on the floor, not 11.
And
a George Mason, who's like a seasoned like senior led team, like back in 2006, can make a run. You know, that's fun. But usually at the end of the day, it's always like a Duke or a Carolina or a UConn who wins it. That's how it always turns out at the end of the day. It's just, but yeah, I do think there'll be a new subdivision, because there's one thing nobody talks about, because the NCAA, and this gets into, like, you know, money talk, but like they get that tax-free status, unless like the SEC and the Big Ten have figured that out behind closed doors that I'm unaware of. Then, you know, even if you try to start a new college league or whatever, you still got to like figure out, how do we not pay taxes like we used to under the NCAA again?
That's not happening at this point. And I mean, there may be some kind of, right now they can still keep their status as is, and it's not as a not for profit or whatever. That's not going to happen. But your antitrust you can keep, as long as you're allowing these players to be able to make money. And with the ruling that we just saw on Tennessee and Virginia this of a week ago, this past Friday, so it's been 10 days now, 11 days now. Now it's a free-for-all out there. And that was, I mean, this is obviously another thing that you have to look at. And look, we are now at the precipice of you thought it was the Wild West a couple of months ago. You thought it was the Wild West a year ago. It's about to really get that way because there's the NCAA, all these schools have fought to try to keep it the way it is so that they don't have to pay players as employees. They're still trying to make their way around that. But in the end, we know that's coming down the road.
Yeah, if they would have
that's what brings it all out in the open and stops people from cheating. Because it's all there. I mean, you can do everything above the table. You don't have to cheat about it.
There's certain schools that will still go under the table. They're still going to the table. I think the big problem is that leadership knew this was coming for years. It just took it took a couple of states to file a lawsuit, and they were forced. Once again, they weren't prepared.
Last year, yeah,
they weren't prepared. If they had years ago, if they had just used what the Olympics did, because like the USA doesn't pay their Olympic athletes, but they get sponsorships. That's how they make their money. If they would have had an Olympic model that would have been slowly phased in, and you would have had a way to monitor it, and you actually it wouldn't be as chaotic as it is now. But listen, it's just, I think the water will recede at some point, and it will start to feel normal for people. We won't bat an eye anymore if someone's making cash in front, because I look at it this way. It's like people saying, "Oh, it's ruined the sport. Players, all this, that." Like, guys, did you not watch Pony Excess? Do you remember the Southwest Conference back in the 80s? I'm just old enough. I'm just barely old enough to know what the Southwest Conference is. So, but I know the crap that went down back in the day behind closed doors. SMU wasn't the only school that was cheating. They just the ones that got caught.
30 for 30. Oh yeah, come on. And Coach, you were living you're from Texas. You know what that was about. Hell, that was one of the things that Darrell Royal ended up making him retire. He was sick of that shit. When Eric Dickerson told him, "No, you're going to have to come up on it. You're going to have to pay more." That's when Darrell Royal knew that he was done.
That's been going on for ages and ages and ages. And as we've talked about recently, what happened in Alabama? Who left and why did he leave? Because now everybody had caught up to him in the new way of doing business. And so Saban got out, because how long have they been paying people and paying them what? It's been going on for years and years and years.
I hold a personal grudge against Eric Dickerson's grandmother. If it wasn't for her, he'd be at OU. So
Good lady.
I don't trust that Coach Switzer, but Mom, I want to go to no, Grandma, no. You going? You staying in? Yeah, you staying inside the state of Texas. Look at Eric Dickerson. We would have went Billy Sims, Eric Dickerson. We wouldn't have missed a beat in the early '80s, man. We've been fine.
Crap. Yeah.
Can you imagine Eric Dickerson on those early '80s teams with J.C. Watts,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and then NIL along with the transfer portal introduced, it is chaos. But here's the thing, Kyle, and this is something that I say a lot. This is the NCAA's fault. This is the fault of the schools and the NCAA that have drugged their feet on this for so long. Just like what Sean just said. Look, you could have gotten out in front of this. Before the Ed O'Bannon lawsuits, all that other stuff, you could have been out in front of this. It never had to be that way. And all they did was, as soon as all this stuff came up with Justice Kavanaugh, when he freaked out about them on their labor practices, is what he called it, then they're okay, well, we'll let them do NIL. And then they've tried to just adjust as they go. There's never been any, how the hell there's no even distribution of penalties of it. Nobody knows what the hell the rules are. And states are doing their own thing.
The scary part is
Oklahoma's law in the state that they adopted says the NCAA can do nothing to us.
Actually, that got blocked, but it doesn't matter at the moment, because there are no rules right now because of those Tennessee lawsuits and everything. There are no rules. They can't do anything to anybody right now. So if they want to drop a bag in plain sight for somebody, there's nothing they can do. So
Guys, and what's new? They hadn't been able to do shit in years.
No, nobody. I mean,
They've been
well,
powerless.
they've been powerless, but they've also been. It's also been like when you do stupid shit like they did with that North Carolina receiver that was transferring to be closer to home. And I don't care if there was other pieces to that or not. Why would you even bother with that? That's just stupid. You know what I mean? You go after those guys.
Michigan. You can also be in Michigan, and it don't matter if you fucking cheat.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
if you have any rules, anyway.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, look, they tried to pass that shit off to the Big Ten immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the Big Ten literally warned Michigan State, said, "Do you guys want to play your game this week? Because I think they spied on you." that was the most Michigan spying on everybody was the most entertaining story of the year last season. I loved that shit. Oh, it was great. Yeah. I listened to local Detroit radio with Valeni and Rico. Must listen to radio on that story. Great sports talk in Detroit. So just my plug for
this is all great stuff. I mean, the thing is then you ended up finding out that they had a cheating trio of schools in the Big Ten that were all, passing around the signs that Michigan had. So it's not like it was just a one-sided thing. The Big Ten, they're always, I mean, look, hell, the SEC, it's a motto out there to if you're not cheating, you're not trying. It's almost NASCAR-ish. You know what I mean? It's they adopted the NASCAR way, so it is what it is. But in the end, look, the only way that you're going to get on top of some of this stuff, thankfully, they are talking about, I saw on Teddy and Gabe yesterday, I guess it was, that they were talking about the having the microphones in the helmets and stuff like that, where they can do all that kind of stuff. They're going to be changing some of these rules up. They're going to go to 2-minute warnings, things like that, which I'm not sure that I love that.
Well, they had to when they changed the clock rules. That's the one thing I think they should have implemented last year, because when the problem I had with last year's clock rules, it's like, okay, if the clock keeps running, if you get a stop on like 2:02 and the clock keeps running, then you don't go back to the old rule. It's like, I do think that needed to be implemented. Now, yeah, it's going to be a huge advantage for an offense, like trying to get back in the game, but so be it. If you get a stop, you get a stop. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, if you're going to, I should let the clock rules alone, because, well, we these games are too long. It's like, well, if we cut a commercial, we can't do that. We can't, we got to hear that at BK, have it your way every 30 seconds. I want to put a gun in my mouth if I will never go to Burger King.
That's not going to change either.
Again.
What do you think the 2-minute warning's for? It's just for another fucking timeout.
Yeah, but see, but we're used to that. If you watch the NFL, I know the 2-minute warning for me is a quick bathroom break or go get a beverage.
But that's two more.
Yeah, but I watch it on Sundays, so I'm used to that. I know. I hear especially on Sunday nights, 2 minutes, the bathroom, drink, get back to the TV as soon as you can. That's what that moment's for.
Right. Hey, real quick, our boy from KC Mo, Neilio, our K-State brother, thank you very much for the super chat. Says, good evening, fellas. Thanks for stopping by again, as always, brother. Yeah, that was good stuff. Hey, we just got some really good, I mean, hey, we're getting a show here with having Sean on the show. So it's good stuff, man. All right, so let's see. What are the we're gonna get into that in a minute. OU doesn't seem to be capitalizing on what as much as they could.
That could be a lot. That could be a lot of things, honestly. So we could.
Yeah. We'll get into some of that stuff in a few minutes. But no, like, to me, I think that I would rather see them. Look, I don't think that you need to mess with these. If you go to 2 super conferences, the one side of that I think would be okay, is because then you would go back to some more regional. You're going to have to break up into pods at that point. Divisions, that kind of stuff. You're going to have to. So you would see Oklahoma coming back to playing, your Oklahoma State again and K-State, Texas Tech, whatever. That's fine. But man, at this point right now, I don't want them to screw with the SEC the way it is. I mean, if you want to add schools to the SEC, fine. But I want Oklahoma to play this schedule. Now that's probably a pipe dream to expect it to stay that way, but it is going to be what it is, you know.
Well, here's the thing with those super conferences, and like because everyone, if these conferences start ballooning up anyway, as you mentioned, they're like you say pods, they'll just bring back divisions, and they'll just you can recreate some of these dead conferences into divisions, and then it won't be the giant ones they were before, but you can. The old school ACC, like pre-90s, you could have those Northern Atlantic Coast teams play each other. You could have the Southeast play each other. You can have the mid, you could still have, I mean, someone will cry tears if they don't have the brand names of the conferences or whatever. They can still keep those. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm in the right crowd for this, but I played a lot of NCAA 14 over the past 10 years, and I'm waiting for my video game to come back. But my go-to super conference for fun, because like you could create a 16-team, 2-division,
like the MAG or something.
No, this is what I did because I had one division of 8 teams. It was the Big 8. And in my other division was the Texas schools from the Southwest Conference. I didn't have Arkansas. I didn't have Arkansas in there because I left them in the SEC. But it's like, oh my God, this would be great. You have the old Southwest Conference, the old Big 8, and then the game was smart enough to schedule Nebraska at the end. And it's like, and Nebraska got good again. Like in some fantasy world, Nebraska was actually good again, believe it or not. And
no, because they would have been playing in the conference that they were closest to and could have gone back. Look, they lost their recruiting pipeline into Texas. That's what scared them.
Yeah, well, when people tell me Oklahoma's going to be the new Nebraska, I keep asking.
Shit ever. It's such a.
I keep asking. So, is the state physically going to leave the border of Texas?
They're going to pick up Oklahoma University of Oklahoma. They're going to take it down to freaking somewhere in Mississippi or Alabama and drop it there. And so now they're not going to be able to recruit Texas.
It's like in that one Avengers movie where Ultron lifted up the entire country and moved it over somewhere else, and the event, all that crazy stuff going on. That's what's going to happen.
Same stuff with the Pac-12 when they were talking about not wanting to play in the Big 12. It's like, okay, so all you dumbasses that are talking about you're not going to class when you get there. What do you care about the academics? They didn't care about it. It was just all a bunch of freaking crap. But anyway, that's where it is. I think that I don't necessarily like the way things are, but the thing is and we've said this all the time on the show, you're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. The best thing that you can do is try to find to me, you're not hearing anybody talking about preserving rivalries. And that's what I want to see happen. I don't want to see these rivalries go away because that's what college football is. The new Super League thing that leaves out BYU. BYU's a big brand. And we're finally going to get to see BYU and Utah again in the Holy War in the Big 12, as long as they stick together.
I mean, and hell, Sankey's a smart motherfucker too, because last year they were talking about like we're losing rivalries. Well, here in the SEC, we're reuniting rivals with Texas and Texas A&M. I was like, you're brilliant. I love you, Sankey. I love my new commissioner. And I know some people are upset over losing Bedlam. I'm on an island by myself mostly. There might be a few people who join me. I don't care if we play Bedlam anymore. I really don't. I mean, it's fun, but you know why? I think one of the reasons we coveted Bedlam so much in recent years is because we didn't have Nebraska anymore. Texas was down, and OSU was the one game we could really get hyped for in state, and OSU was better most years than not, and it was always like we have like the overwhelming winning percentage, but a lot of games were insane. We could go down a laundry list of games that went nuts, and we won like 8 or 9 out of 10 times. Yeah. But if you told me you got to sacrifice Bedlam if you want to go to the SEC, I'm like, I'm in.
That was fine. That was fine, except that they could have played it. They could still play it, and they should still play it, in my opinion. But I agree I know what you're saying, and I'm fine with that.
They're the ones who don't want to play it.
I know that part. Yeah, for sure. I know that part because when we were at Big 12 Media Days, me and Coach were there, and Coach was even like trying to stick it to Gundy about it, and he just flat out all he kept doing was blaming OU. The
reason Bedlam's not happening is because they're leaving the conference. Like, is that really why it's?
Yeah, ending? Well, and he kept saying that they've booked out their freaking non-conf for the next 15 years.
Oh my God, that game against Central Arkansas cannot be canceled. We cannot buy out that game, guys. Can't do it. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, you kick them some cash and don't have to take the ass whipping, they would be fine with that.
2020 taught me you can do whatever the hell you want in college football if you have to.
Oh,
So
it's just crazy stuff. But anyway, like I said, I think that it's hard to really to know what's going to happen. I mean, Andy's deal is as good as anybody's really, but I think that in the end, what I was getting at earlier, I think that Sankey and Tony Petitti threw this out there of having auto bids they want 3 for the Big Ten and 3 for the SEC, which I think is not a bright idea to throw that out there. I didn't like it because of the fact that, look, you'd be better off to say no auto bids and the best teams go in, because then that way you're going to get 3 or 4 in anyway most years.
That's what Sankey wants.
Your nose up. Yes, I think that's the case too. I think
Sankey's not the one. The only reason
you'll freak out and say no, then they don't have to give auto bids to the Big 12 and put in a 3-loss conference runner-up in the Big 12 as part of an auto bid situation, because that's bullshit too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Sankey don't want auto bids. Like, the only reason he said 3 is because, oh, Tony's gonna do this. I had to do it too, or else. Like, fine, if you get 3, we get 3, because he has to match him in that instance. Like, Sankey wants the best teams, and based on how college football has gone over the years, he knows that's gonna lean towards him more times than not. So, like, who are your traditional teams that are gonna be generally good in the Big Ten every year? Like Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Michigan State's down, maybe Wisconsin once in a while, or maybe a 10-win Iowa gets in there because they play defense and no offense, and they won a bunch of 5-2 games. But in the SEC, you're going to have Bama, Georgia, LSU any given time. And I know Texas is Texas is guaranteed to be a great SEC team this year, of course, as I've been told by everybody. The SEC tough schedule does not apply to Texas. For us, we get told how tough it
has finally returned. Your brand.
That's weird hearing my voice right there. I'm not used to doing that. But no, it's like we don't. We get told how tough the SEC is, but for Texas, no, they're. I mean, and people will say, and I'm listening to like the level-headed people today, like Texas is a tier 1 school. They're guaranteed to make the playoffs. It's like they're guaranteed. Like, what? Did they not lose their D-line, their 2 best D linemen, all of their wide receivers, their star tight end, their quarter? I know people love Ewers, but
the thing of it, Ewers is the weakest part of that team, and he stayed. All weekend we've been seeing nothing but flexing coming from Texas, right? Over their amazing performances at the combine. 4.21 for Xavier Worthy, and AD Mitchell goes out there and runs a 4.38, and Jordan Whittington is killing it too, and then blah 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 blah. Okay, well, you guys still gagged it up, and it was
Xavier Worthy was
to win the national championship, and you didn't do it because
Xavier Worthy was in a real hurry to turn the ball over on downs at the 1-yard line. He was fast at doing that. He did that really quickly.
I don't know how they got back into that game against Washington, but they get down there to the 12 and throw it at the end zone once.
Dude, if the running back for Washington doesn't get hurt, the clock is over. It is done.
Right.
They had to stop the clock because he got hurt. Like, they were given every gift to get in that game. And there is a part of me that smiles that, like, Quinn Ewers, like the losses Texas had were on an incomplete pass by Quinn Ewers. It warms the cockles of my heart.
Hey, we all hate Texas in here. Fuck Texas. But here's the deal, though. I just think that when it comes to all that stuff, I'm excited about the SEC and everything else. I'm excited about. I think it'd be great to see Notre Dame be in the Big Ten as well, to play those Ohio States and the Michigans all the time. They're going to play USC every year anyway. That they're always going to do that, right? Those are things that aren't going to go away. And now there'll be conference rivalries, which is cool. But in the end, this is just going to be so much difference, and you just don't know where it's going to. Where are we going to end up? if they just do a subdivision, and because they are going to have to, not all of these schools, if you even look at all those schools, some of them in the SEC, they'll be able to afford it more in the SEC. But they were talking about that subdivision. You'd need to be making $100 million to be able to pay players and do this and do that every year, and in order to be a part of this subdivision
Well,
and do it that way.
Yeah, that's going to cover the TV money. So it's
correct.
Like I hear people say silly stuff. Well, they'll have to kick Vanderbilt out. Like, what are you talking about? They kicking Vanderbilt out.
Swain's been saying that for weeks. I think this is the dumbest thing. They're not kicking out Vanderbilt. They're not going to kick out Northwestern. They're not going to do any of that. You know why? Because you got to have losers in the conference too.
Someone's got to do the Jocks' homework for them. Okay, and that's Vanderbilt's job.
Look, man, you got to have a team that loses. You've got to have a few of those. You got to have your Minnesotas and your Rutgers and, Maryland of the world. You just got to have them.
And once in a while, those schools well, maybe not them, but all those other ones you mentioned, well, once in a while, they'll have a really good year, make a run. And so it can happen. So
it could, but I think Mizzou falls on their face this year.
That would be so... God, that would be sad. Eli,
it's like I'm looking in a freaking crystal ball and I just know it's coming. It's Missouri, bro.
I think if they had kept their defense coordinator, they'd still be good.
But they didn't.
No, that's what I'm saying. If
they got away with some shit.
We all talk in ifs in here. If
you have to.
We'd all like to if happen, but it doesn't.
Right, but they got a bunch of guys that are supposedly getting drafted. He was a big difference man. I mean, he's going to be a major reason why either LSU gets it figured out on the defensive side, because they were god awful last year.
LSU must have been taking notes during the Riley years on defense with their pass defense last year, because my God, it was.
It looked similar, didn't it?
I have never seen an LSU defense that garbage before. Ooh.
When you take that kid out, and
then you can add they have Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Brian Kelly don't scare me. Like people bring up the schedules. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that going to Death Valley is going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, of course not.
But Brian Kelly does not scare me. So
he doesn't win the big games.
So if for whatever reason, if that game is on at noon on ESPN on the SEC network or something. Fine. Like I'll feel comfortable going in there, maybe getting a win. If it's at night and they try to make a big deal about it, it's the first time OU's been there. It's like, crap, this will be tough. But that's what I have to go and expecting it. So like all of our games next year, people say how tough our schedule is, which it is. It's like, because I keep being told it's like one of the toughest schedules in the country. I want to keep reminding people that if we go 9 or 10 wins, we keep being told how tough it is. But most of our games are really tough games are spread out. You don't necessarily like the only back-to-back is Bama LSU at the end. You got Tennessee.
But you come off of a basic bye the week before the Bama game, and then you get Bama at home at least.
Going to Auburn will be difficult for a road environment. I don't know how good Auburn's going to be, especially if Peyton Thorne's their quarterback. So,
and I mean, they're either got to play him or they got to play a freshman unless they get into the portal after the spring, which is it gonna? I mean, what are you gonna have left there? I mean, you might be able to go get whoever doesn't make it at Ohio State.
Yeah, Auburn's a legit tough place to play. Just ask Alabama and the Saban years. It's like just because it is a tough place to play.
I get that, but Oklahoma doesn't know anything about that.
Too.
Listen, those people will be. They're going to see us wearing crimson, and they're going to have like flashbacks of last year, and they're going to get mad at us, and like who knows what's going to happen. So we got to be careful on that front.
New Mexico State said it was a tough place to play.
That's what I'm saying is it's tough for Alabama and Georgia, because Georgia and Auburn is the oldest rivalry in the South. Alabama and Auburn is the Iron Bowl. It's the most heated rivalry in the South. Yeah, it's a different deal for that. Oklahoma doesn't know or care about Jordan-Hare Stadium.
But it's gonna be a big deal when we come there, though. I'm gonna go like they're gonna treat it like a big. Tennessee made it a big deal when we
like a big deal and got drugged last year.
Penn State's different because like James Franklin's their head coach. Let's just like put that out there. He can't win big games, but he
beat the shit out of them.
but no, but for real, it's like when we went to Tennessee in 15, it was a big deal. It took we had to dig deep to win that one. Baker had to become. We didn't know who Baker Mayfield was yet. It's like, who is, like, we thought Trevor was going to take his spot halfway through that game. And people forget that he was warming up on the sideline, and then Baker became Baker Mayfield that night. So it's again, I look forward to the challenge of a lot of those games, but again, it's like you know, a lot of them, they're like Missouri. We've been to Missouri before, and like, if you could promise me one win, it's that one. Like Alabama, LSU. No. I want to beat Missouri into powder.
Right, and then what about Ole Miss? I think I'm a fan of Lane Kiffin, but I gotta say, when the hell has he won a game that matters? I don't see that. I know that they went heavy in the portal.
If it wasn't for that Terrence Cody character, he might have won a big game once. Blocked again, Cody again. That was a long time ago. I watched that.
But again, though, since I was more just talking about since he got to Ole Miss, he hasn't won those games that matter for them to take that next step.
I think they beat LSU last year, so that was a decent win. That was a decent win. LSU didn't win a big game last year.
They didn't make the playoff. They still lost to Alabama. They still lost to Georgia.
Listen, it was a 4-team playoff still. It's a tough nut to crack for anybody. So it's Theo.
Okay, so he's one for so far. Okay.
I think Theo Ace is still at Mizzou for another year. But
he is. He decided he's coming back.
Yeah. Luther Burden's the guy you really got to worry about, though, because you know, he made a business decision to go to Missouri. So
definitely. Here's the thing though now, and that's the other thing is as you saw that they've got some new leadership there at the NIL, the Crimson and Cream Collective, a Sooner. They're playing the game, and you're gonna have to play the game. That's all there is to it. It's time. You don't have to. There's no more talking about it. It's got to be done.
Well, they do play the game. I mean, people like, I think there's a big misconception that because people see what Missouri do or Miami or A&M, and they lose their minds if they don't get certain recruits. And I understand the frustration on some level, but trust me, you don't get Jackson Arnold if you don't play the game. He's a 5-star quarterback. You don't get David Stone unless you're playing the game.
Or Jaden Jackson for that. Or
Jaden, I mean, Jaden Jackson probably wasn't as expensive, but it did help to get him too. So it's like the smart thing that they're doing is because all these other teams I mentioned, they're not, just because they're spending the most money doesn't mean they're winning at the highest level. Just because you buy a team, like look at what A&M did. They said, we got the greatest recruiting class of all time, and you didn't do shit with it.
Yeah, they gagged. That's Jimbo.
You had like 12 5-stars and like 8 of them bust. 8 of them.
What do you think? Hey, Coach, what do you think the odds are that A&M, especially at home, they're going to beat Texas this year?
I agree.
One of those teams has to lose.
They may beat our ass in the first game.
I think they're not as bad as people think they are with Mike Elko, because they've changed a lot of things around there.
Elko does a great job,
but it is still Texas A&M.
I don't care where he's at.
I heard somebody's feeling. I heard like an associate's mine. He's an Aggie. I really hurt his feelings when Elko took the job. I was like there goes the end of that man's coaching career. He got mad when I said that.
Right.
It's like, what? Everyone who goes to A&M doesn't win. There's all these high expectations and they fail. What's Kevin Sumlin doing lately? I mean, you tell me. So,
well, and like with what Orca said, Ole Miss has to make a deep run before. And look, I think that's where you kind of are with all the major programs. You've got nobody's Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, up until this year, Ohio State and those guys, they weren't, and Notre Dame for that matter, they're not getting into bidding wars over players. They're not going to do it, right?
Ohio State not messing around this year either. Oh my!
Well, yeah, but how did that happen? They went and got the AD from Texas A&M.
well, it also had to do with the fact Michigan just won a natty. It's like all hands on deck.
That's part of it too. And I think that probably would have sped things up at Oklahoma too if Texas would have not pissed down their leg when they got there. And it was all there for them to do it, and they didn't get it done.
Yeah, they weren't going to beat Michigan either. So even if they had gotten there, so
I don't know if
No.
they would have or not.
No.
I mean, no. And know why? Because Ewers is not that guy. He's not that guy.
Well,
This idea that they're just going to gel together because Sark can snap his fingers, the motherfuckers won 10 games once.
Can they do it twice before they get? That's that was my big thing about Texas. It's like, wait, Sark finally won 10 games for the first time in his coaching career. Brent did that year too, and no one brings that up. It's like this is. I thought it was a big accomplishment, guys. Winning 10 games. No. All right.
It's easier to hate on Oklahoma, though. It's easier to do it there. They have this. Hey, look, ESPN's been in love with freaking Texas for a long time. They got the Longhorn Network. They watch them, obliterate the Big 12 because of all of that. That's what happened.
Well, there's certain brands and like company included, like Notre Dame, Texas, Michigan. Miami's another one if they get good again one day. There are certain quote unquote brands that they love to promote. And it's like I'll tell Alabama fans this, like if Alabama drops off, like they can't wait to stop talking about Alabama because Alabama is not interesting to talk about unless they have a Nick Saban and they're winning all the time. There are certain states and programs that have to do that. And it's just it's a population thing because Oklahoma has a good fan base, but it's nothing compared to like an Ohio State or a Michigan. They got a gigantic alumni base. So we just don't compete with that. And I understand that to an extent, but it's like, okay. It's like,
but you still go through and win most of your games. And that's the thing.
I know. And I love seeing that in person last year.
What do you see out of Riley Leonard and this Notre Dame team coming into this season? I mean, it looks like this might be the last season or two that they stay independent. What are your thoughts when you look at this schedule? What do you think that they're going to take that next step under this coaching staff and this regime?
Are you asking me?
No, coach. Notre Dame.
I think we've been on an uphill trajectory. I think if Riley does have a good year and stays healthy, if he plays not like he did last year, obviously because he was hurt. Matter of fact, Notre Dame knocked him out, and he struggled for the rest of the year with injury. And he's already had surgery and so forth. But I think if he can play to the way he played 2 seasons ago, I think they can definitely make some upward movement with him. And I like having Denbrock. I think Denbrock is going to make a huge difference. I think for the first time in a long time, I'm seeing a commitment by the Notre Dame athletic department to do some things right. I mean, we got both our coordinators hired for the next 4 years, and they're two of the highest paid in the country now. And I know money doesn't equal wins, but I think we're finally starting to get some
coaches. It kind of does with coaches. It does well to pay coaches.
Well, and you want to have a good staff, but again, I think Marcus is doing things that the last guy couldn't do. Kelly was always bitching and exactly recruiting. And instead of getting all these 3 stars that we used to play with, we're starting to get 4 stars, and we're not OU yet that has all these 5 stars, but we're starting to trickle in some of those 5-star players. We got a quarterback, Deuce Knight, that Alabama's trying to steal, and a few other across the country. But I think we're making progress, and I think that our quarterback can. I think we have a quarterback room that finally is competitive more than the shit we had a few years ago.
They finally paid it for getting Denbrock, I think, was the big deal. More than freaking Riley Leonard was getting Denbrock, because it's not been good with the coordinators the last 2 years.
No, our coordinator, our two, Tommy Reese, he went over to Alabama and fucked everything up over there and made Saban retire. But
I knew that shit was coming.
but again, I think we're as long as we can continue to see steady improvement, but it's going to really depend on Riley and how he can perform. If he performs at last year's standards, that's not good enough. If he can perform at the year before standards, because he's truly a dual threat quarterback, and if we can really get the dual threat out of him, I think it'll help the Irish.
Yeah. Look, I think that but so you were saying though a couple of weeks ago that you thought, or that you're hearing that they're going to go to the Big Ten. What is it? Where are you hearing this from, and what is it exactly that you're hearing?
Well, you know, I have some kids that played for me that played at Notre Dame, and through some of those visits, I think the conversation is coming from the inside that it's more on the table than it ever has been. But hell, that's not like a damn secret, is it, guys? I mean, I think we all know that it's more on the table than it ever has been. But they're still going to resist it, guys. They're going to resist it as long as they possibly can until they know it's going to affect them having an opportunity or a decent opportunity at a national title shot. And that's where I think and again, I talked about the money earlier, but again, I don't think the money.
But they got enough from NBC for it to matter. They just got enough money from NBC that if they get into the playoff, they're going to be making the same amount of money anyway. It's not even a money thing.
And here's the thing, Jason, what people don't talk about, what the part people forget, they don't just get that money from them. They get ACC money. There's money coming in from two different pots. It's not just one pot.
There's the other part that most people aren't talking about is that they are tied to the ACC in some way. I don't even know. I'm not exactly sure how that all is, but I know that if they leave, they would owe something to the ACC at this point. And it wouldn't really surprise me in view of the fact that they got Stanford and Cal to go to the ACC, and they can still play USC every year. And they can still, if they didn't just say, okay, you know what, we'll go over here into this trashy ACC that's, even if they're about to lose Clemson, they're about to lose FSU, maybe whoever. Why do they care? They can still kind of hold it together just how they are. They're making enough money that they don't give a shit about the ACC media rights deal, and they can still tell Michigan and Ohio State to jump in the freaking lake.
You know, Stanford and Cal.
I'd rather go to the Big Ten. Let's play.
I know that, and it's probably better for you to compete there
and play trash. Yeah,
you're right. You're right. No, I'm just saying it's not a full on that we know for sure this is how it's going to go, because Notre Dame does still have that power to say, kiss my ass. You know what I mean? Notre Dame can lose 2 games and they'll go to the playoff.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, I think that these first couple of years, they're going to kind of work it out. But I think that right now, the SEC and the Big Ten, they are trying to force Notre Dame in, but I also think that they're trying to make if the ACC, in, you know, something I did see John Wilner say something the other day. He said the Big 12 should accept, the Big 12 and ACC should immediately accept the 2 conference automatic bids. They should immediately accept it, because if you don't, you're screwed. And I agree with that, because I don't think that there's any way in hell. Look, I think that the Big 12 is going to be a fun conference to watch now. I don't think that I think that there's some school, when you bring in Utah, you bring in, you know, that Arizona team with who they've got, you know, as long as that stays together, I don't think that they're going to stay great forever.
But without OU and Texas, let's be honest, the Big 12,
they're going to beat up on each other. I know, Coach. I know. And here's what I'm saying. What I was getting at is that, okay, so I can foresee a conference championship game that has 2 teams with 2 losses. So one of them is going to lose and get a 3rd loss. Yeah. And they'll get in and on an automatic bid if they accept what they've thrown out there, right? But I don't know that they want them to accept it. I think that they're trying to just set it up to where, okay, we offered you this, and now we're going to do this, and you know who's going to end up in there. So I believe that that's probably what's coming. But in the end, if the Big 12 and the ACC don't accept that, look at what just happened to Florida State. Everybody was all up in arms about them not going to the playoff undefeated as a conference champion. And you want to believe that they're going to stick 2 of your fucking teams in the playoff now? Just because there's 12 or 14 teams? I don't believe it.
Exactly.
Yeah, Florida State was a sacrificial lamb. That was something I never thought I would see in my lifetime with the way things were. And
Sure.
It was the easiest thing to do. And it's like, I
could have happened any time though during that whole 14 playoff though.
Right, but I could not wrap my obviously, you know, quarterback injured out for the year, changes the dynamic of the team, understandable. But it was like until I saw it happen when the selection said I could not. There's no way they're going to leave them out.
I didn't think that they would have the balls to do it either. I mean, I didn't think that they were one of the best 4 teams, but I didn't think they were going to have the balls to keep them out.
Oh Lord, we could have the debate over is it the best team or most deserving team?
Not where we are. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, hell,
I hate that garbage so much.
This show to blow up. Me and Coach were yelling at each other about it. But here's the thing: do you think that look, there's going to be a 4th place SEC or Big 10 team that's going to be a hell of a lot better than the runner up of the Big 12. A hell of a lot better,
unless it's Iowa.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm just saying, there's going to be, for sure that the number 4 team in the SEC most years would just drag whatever team's coming out of the Big 12. And I don't give a shit if it's Utah.
I'd be careful about 4th. Like if you want to say 1st, 2nd, or even 3rd, all right. Like 4th, you got to be careful because there's been plenty of years in the SEC lately where
every year, but I think
there's there's been some big drop-offs, and that's the one thing I want to.
3-loss Big 12 team though.
It depends who it is. It's about matchups and everything. How many years have we seen the before bowl games really started to become just like inept at this point? I've seen plenty of bowl seasons where matchups happen where the SEC doesn't do well unless it's at the top because all they care about is the top with the BCS or the playoff. So I've seen plenty of years where it's like Georgia doesn't win, and when they're in the middle, or Arkansas or Tennessee or South Carolina.
We're not talking about Arkansas and Tennessee. We're talking about the top teams, the top 4 at this point out of 16. Think about that.
Right, but I've seen an LSU lose to a Penn State at a Citrus Bowl or something that. I've seen that happen before. Now it's possible. So I'm just like, if you want to say 1 and 2, okay, 1 and 2 usually is legit. 3 depends on the year. We get down to 4 and 5, it's a different story sometimes.
But okay, what happens after a few years of there's this huge money gap?
Oh, well, I mean, the future, who knows? It all depends on recruiting and everything. But
2 years down the road, when they've made $100 million more than you have in the last 2 years as a Big 12 team, and you already weren't recruiting with these guys to begin with, you weren't recruiting with these guys, and they just made an extra $100 million. Good luck.
Well, we shall see you there. I mean, if they're making Arch Manning money, then we're in big trouble here.
Speaking of Arch Manning,
did I say his name? The Crown Prince.
The Crown Prince of college football.
He is. He's the Crown Prince of college football.
I tell you. So, I mean, look, I'm excited about the new college football game coming out. Coach, I don't know if you're a PlayStation guy or not. I know that your son will be playing it for sure. But
I'm ready.
I love college football. I've missed it.
Ready.
That was the one game I would play that in Tiger Woods golf. I really kind of stopped playing any of it until recently. I've been picking it back up. I've got 14 as well.
Side note to Tiger Woods golf. I wish they made an adult version where he would actually curse like he did in real life. Like, Tiger Woods, you suck. God damn it. Like,
you stupid son of a bitch. Yeah. Yeah. Tiger's Tiger's not as nice a guy as people think he is, or act like he is a lot of times. It's kind of an ass.
Kind of a dick.
All right. Kind of a dick. Kind of a dick. All right. So Arch Manning, you've got over 10,000 college football players throughout the country that have opted into the game. They get $600 plus a copy of the game, and they got their names and everything. That's cool. There's a couple of different thoughts here, but Arch is focused on playing football on the field, says Anwar Richardson, and that he is going to opt out of the game. I don't understand this.
Anwar is an orange blood's butt boy. Okay, that's what he is.
I don't understand this though. What are the Mannings doing? I don't even care about Texas as much as what are the Mannings doing here?
Okay, like if you followed this kid's recruiting, and I do not hold this against Arch personally because I know what's happening. Because I call him the crown prince of college football because that's how he's being treated. It's a PR thing. Like he had like the security detail at certain games, and when it was on TV, Arch Manning is visiting Georgia. Arch Manning is visiting or wherever he took official visits on game day, they had cameras. Arch Manning's here. Arch Manning's here, which means Peyton and Eli were with him, and it got insane. And for people who actually watched this kid play in high school. He played at a garbage level in Louisiana. He played at this little private school that I think his uncles were.
Like the second round.
And here's the best part. They got like a 3A team from Florida to come play them on their campus. That 3A team from Florida whooped them up and down the field. Because we have an Arch Manning game. And they put this on national TV on ESPN, and he didn't do squat. And it was beautiful.
He's got a noodle arm too, bro. We saw him in the freaking spring game last year. He is not ready.
Listen, I want to tell everyone right now, when I went to the OU Texas game last year in Dallas, I was within like under 100 yards away from Arch Manning. I could feel his presence as I was standing at the stadium. I could see the glow. It was like he was a Dragon Ball Z character powering up. He was just ready to put me in, coach. If Quinn can't do it, I'll throw the long bomb, and I would have hit that Hail Mary. It's just... when your PR guys put out a message like Arch is focusing on football, you mean he can't fill out a form on his phone that takes 2 minutes to say I'm optimistic? And I hear it's a Sharon Jaraja, who's like, I always butcher his name, so forgive it. Shahan Jaraja. He says, what this is referring to him, he says, I honestly get this. There's no upside for him, and finances has nothing to do with it. Every little thing. It's like every little thing would be a sideshow, and from his rating, and people would talk about it on the internet. It's like, dude, he's the quarterback at Texas. You mean people might make fun of him on the internet in a video game? Oh no! Like,
he was the first perfect recruit in 247 history.
Yes.
And he wasn't good. So what do you think EA Sports was going to do? They would have probably made him. Now that was what you're hearing, that he was like, I don't want to upstage Quinn because until I get the job, I don't want to be.
He hasn't done anything to do anything. Like that's the thing that drives me crazy. Here's what EA would honestly do. Based on his rating, they would probably make him a 78 or 79 overall. You know, and for those who understand what that means, that's pretty high for a freshman. Right. Or if he's a second-year player, they would make him an 83 or 84 overall. Yeah. That's pretty good for a second-year player, right? So
that's what I'm saying, is that Arch would have been good on the game. So it wasn't to protect him. I don't want to hear that shit because they do that anyway.
I'm just like,
but what he said, Arch is focused in playing football on the field. What the fuck does that mean?
We don't want to make this a distraction.
You don't have to practice at PlayStation. You don't have to show up on the PlayStation to do anything.
He doesn't have to do anything. He just like fills out a form. But here's the thing: if he would have just quietly opted in, and one of the orange blood butt boys go, "So Arch, Your Majesty, we want to, if we may ask you a question, sir, did you opt into the game?" Oh, if he would have just said, "Yeah, I opted in," and the rest of the team did, non sequitur, we would have gone.
Nobody's talking about this shit. Nobody cares.
There are going to be
more now. He did.
There are going to be signs at game day saying Arch opted out of the game, or making fun of his overall rating, or they're going to talk about the fake player that looks like Arch in the game. You just put more spotlight on him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you want to happen, and congratulations, but just makes him, and I feel sorry for the kid because it makes him look like a tool. It totally makes him look like a tool.
So there's 2 tweets that I wanted to show you guys. These are funny. Maybe if I get the damn things to open. All right. So the first one.
I mean, Arch Manning really is an NFT scam if we stop and think about it.
An NFT scam. I like that. It's actually pretty funny.
All my apes are gone. Oh no.
Okay, so TJ Pittenger from Double Fries No Slaw. I need to focus, so I've leaked 2 stories to the media. What did it? Wait, shit! I just lost it. I need to focus on ball, so I've leaked 2 stories to the media in the last 24 hours, so I can prove I'm focusing more on ball than the 10,000 who just opted into the game. That's funny. But my favorite one was this next one.
I did legit cry last
and
night.
I believe that this one got erased, but not before.
Oh, Billy Bowman, another attention seeker.
Yeah, another attention seeker, Billy Bowman says.
But Billy can talk smack because he actually won the game last year, because people tend to forget you won that game.
Yeah, they do.
That win doesn't count because it was just Texas
Red River never dies, though. That's the beauty of that.
Yeah, Texas had a bad day, so it just doesn't count.
One other thing, I should have pulled that up, and I don't even think I have it close by. But I'll look for it in a second. But I do want to ask about that. Did you guys see Brandon Walker's freaking quarterback rankings for next year?
For the entire country, or?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Brandon Walker has lots of opinions, and I tend to ignore Brandon Walker when I can.
Yes, me too. Oh, I was definitely trolling him for it. I think he's terrible at this stuff. But so was the guy from the oh man, what's that one podcast that they do? He's another Florida State guy, but he's pretty good stuff. It was hilarious.
Man. Cannell?
No, let me find it real quick. Coach, what do you think about Arch Manning? Tell us about your beliefs about Arch.
Here it comes, baby. I don't give a shit.
I knew this is exactly what I was doing.
You're talking about you're talking about royalty.
Right.
Archibald Manning the third.
He
is royal.
Absolutely not a damn thing to me. He's just another player.
It's pretty funny that the way that they've made such a thing about it.
Sick as nanny Beatrice on you. You better watch out.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Shit out of me.
Let's see.
Beatrice, would you please fluff my pillow before I go to bed tonight? I have a lot of film study in the morning. I have to learn how to throw a Hail Mary to beat Oklahoma.
It was Bud Elliott that was talking all that crap.
Oh yeah, screw Bud Elliott too.
But he was on Brandon Walker a lot. So no, Brandon Walker's his top 10 are Carson Beck. I'm okay with that one. Quinn Ewers, number 2, Jackson Dart, Noah Fafita, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward, Brady Cook, Jalen Milroe, Cam Rising, and then Shedeur Sanders. Shedor's a good quarterback. Whether they're good at Colorado or not, we're gonna have to wait and see.
Here's the thing: it's not about the names or even the order. It just tells you there is not that. You don't even have 2 or 3 without question guys on that list that are like, yes. You don't have.
Maybe Shedeur. I think that Shedeur, they're pretty much picking him as a
but you don't have a Caleb Williams like that's like, yes, that's the guy next year who we're gonna all look at. Or you don't have a Trevor Lawrence, you don't have a You don't have a Bryce Young. Like, I'm sorry, Jalen Milroe sucks. He's just not good.
The guy can't throw, man. I think
he made one throw. He made one.
Yeah, because they on that play, they absolutely did not cover him. I mean, they didn't go after him. They sent
Don't worry. Isaiah Bond is going to replace Xavier Worthy. I'm hearing that garbage today too. I mean, don't get me wrong. Isaiah Bond's a very talented player, but it's like,
I know he is, but so
they're going to replace their entire skill group. They're going to replace everybody. Apparently, no problem.
All right, here's my thing about
Carson Beck at one, though. Man. I mean, I don't know. He's okay. He's
like Carson Beck.
Like, it's hard. Like, most Georgia quarterbacks are good because there's so much talent around them.
Sure.
And it's like, I'm not saying Carson Beck sucks.
As far as their skill guys are concerned, they've got a lot of guys that are going to be playing for the first time. You know, they lost Ladd and Brock to the league as well. You know,
honestly, looking at this, I put Noah a lot higher. I would put him at 2 or 3.
Fafita?
Yeah, I would put him at 2 or 3, honestly.
Yeah, I think I would take Quinn and drop him off of this list.
If Cam Rising is healthy, I would have him top 5. If he's healthy. Okay. If he has to be healthy, though, because that's the key.
I think maybe but Quinn's for sure not number 2 in the country. And I don't. And
well, we can't say that because they're a tier 1 program. They finally won 10 games. They finally did it, guys.
I know.
God. Like, people wonder why OU fans over the years
3 or 4 first rounders. Ward at 5. I don't know about Ward at 5. We'll see about him. He didn't do anything at the end of last year. Of course, he was at freaking Washington State. But Milroe, I don't love. Dylan Gabriel. Look, man, I'm a Dylan Gabriel guy. We all know that. But as far as if they have to throw the ball deep, we know what's going to happen there. I think he's. But you could move him up. For sure. I mean, he beat Quinn Ewers.
I mean, yeah, he does not have an accurate. It's just his timing is just. I love Dylan. I'll always love Dylan for what I saw last year.
Me too. I'm a fan of Dylan Gabriel.
But his timing for deep throws is not great. Like, how many times like people put up the highlight of like the catch that Farouk made in the Texas game. It was like, yeah, he had to wait for it to come to him, and he kind of fell down to catch it. God, just Miami should just drop football. They keep trying and failing. I don't know why. Just drop football, Miami.
They don't have an excuse anymore either, though. That's another one of those teams that now, between them and Ohio State, they've kind of pushed all in and gotten a lot of talent, and they went and got Cam Ward, and they think he's supposed to be all that. If you don't go, and the ACC is not that damn good, if they don't win something this year, I mean, I know it hadn't been that long, but Mario, he's going to, at worst, he'll be on the hot seat. If you don't win 10 games with the team that you have now, when are you going to?
They desperately, they claim they don't have room on campus. They desperately need like a 40,000 seat on campus stadium. They desperately need one.
Nobody watches them at the freaking Orange Bowl.
Well, that's because they're on the other side of Miami. Like, I live in Florida. You know how much of a bitch it is to get from like Miami Gardens to like campus?
Right.
Like, it's not like you're Norman. Hey, let's just roll out of bed out of the dorms and go to a game. We got student season tickets. No, you got to like plan your day around going to a Miami football game. You got to get on a bus.
That whole deal with their benefactor, didn't he just lose all his money or whatever?
Well, yeah, because he was a fraud. But a lot of things at Miami are frauds, including like a season they had. Like, it's like, I don't know. You listen, the 80s were fun, but it's over. The 80s are gone. Like you know,
they've got a lot of recruits there. There's no reason why they shouldn't be winning, and they've got Mario Cristobal, who's been recruiting well. He just hadn't won anything.
I live in a world where 2 out of the 3 powers in the state of Florida kind of suck, and it's weird. Like, I live in a world where the Florida Gators are bad, and that's just I grew up with Spurrier just running the SEC, and
yeah, no doubt.
And then Urban Meyer took over. And
he's attracting. Here's another one, DJU. Why isn't he up here on this list? You know.
Well, he had the curse. He suffered the curse of the Dr. Pepper Fansville like Caleb Williams did. So he has to bounce back. He's going to be. I mean, he's at Florida State, so
no, that's what I'm saying. He's in a good position to do well. He played well last year at Oregon State.
Oregon State
really
was. I mean, the ironic thing about the Pac-12 last year is they was like the deepest conference. They had like the best group of teams and
of offenses for sure. But
offenses, So it was just like.
I like DJU, man, and you know he's of course they're friends of the show. You know we've had Big Dave on a couple of times. We love them. So
is Jackson like it?
Yeah, Jackson should be on this list. I don't know.
No. Let me rephrase. He should not be on the list right now. But I'm saying
he can get on it
if they figure out the O line, which I think they'll like. At the end of the day, I think OU will have a solid starting five. Not great. I'm not talking like 2008 grade or 2017-18 grade. I'm just talking about a solid line. That's all I'm asking for.
Right.
Jackson Arnold could end up being the best quarterback in the SEC. It's very possible.
I think you could. I think Carson Beck is set up for success. I think that they've got a tough schedule too. But I think that he's set up for success, and I like the way he throws the ball. I mean, Carson's good.
Oh yeah, man! Like Georgia's like their machine.
Jackson Dart could be good, but they have a lot of guys that they have to try to work in too. You know, so I don't know. I like Fafita and McMillan. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Noah Fafita being on this list. I don't have a problem with Shador being on the list. Brady Cook.
There's just so many. There's just so many teams in the SEC that
I think it's hilarious that everybody thinks Mizzou is so good. I think it's fucking hilarious.
What kills me at the SEC when you talk about a lot of teams, everyone talks about how bad some of the defenses are of these teams, and it's so weird to say that because LSU is bad, Missouri's bad. Well, I mean that's not too shocking. Missouri's bad. Like who are the teams that have a defense? Georgia. Who else has a defense?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Bama's got talent. Bama's got talent,
but they got all new coaches too. So,
I mean, hey, how many times have you seen new coaches come in but use like previous talent and still win for at least a year or two, and then the reality sets in? We saw it with Riley.
I'm going to say this much. Oh, yes, we did, but I'll say this much too. Hey, Kalen DeBoer has won with less talent.
Yeah,
he's lost 13 games out of.
Can't say that was Sark.
but he and I'm gonna say it again. He hadn't done it in the SEC.
That's true, but think about this, Coach. The SEC. I mean, you know, you've got the reputation of being so great, and I think that there's some good teams, but there's a lot of question marks on a lot of these teams. If you really believe that Missouri's that good, and you really believe that LSU is just going to bounce back all of a sudden, and you really believe that Lane Kiffin's going to find a way, I mean, then okay. And then, Coach, do you believe Texas is going to be all that? Are they going to win the national championship next year?
No.
Okay. So the thing is that, look, I think that Georgia is the one thing we know is really good. The rest of them,
it's not if certain guys develop by mid-year for Oklahoma, it's not crazy to potentially say that OU could have like the second or third best defense in the SEC. It's not insane to say that.
I don't think it's insane to say it might be one of yes, absolutely.
Georgia's going to be really. Georgia's loaded, so because they've stacked.
So
they've stacked. I'm not going to say number one, but man, if David Stone by like Texas becomes a dude, look at now, like a lot of these young pups that we're getting excited about, they got to have a really good offseason. They got to add strength.
Sure, but you've got the sophomores that didn't really play a whole lot this year. Those are the ones that I think make a big move this year. Like
R. Mason Thomas is a guy I'm hoping really steps up, and if Danny
Champ Sanders,
just a gift we got with Billy Bowman and Stutzman coming back. It was a gift that we got.
DJ Adebaware.
PJ putting on weight, man. And
I think that McCullough is going to be a lot better in year two. And he was good in year one until he got hurt. I think he's going to be good. Here's the thing. out of 5 guys, and I would think that when you've got the IMG kids, you can't really expect them to be, just world breakers.
Not start, but they can rotate and be if they can get 20, 30 snaps a game and make an impact.
I think you can expect at least something out of a couple of them, right? But they've got some guys that are coming back. That's the beauty of it. When you get some depth in there, then you got something to work with, right? You don't need them to have to come in and dominate. I
haven't been able to talk about depth on defense in like 20 years, man.
Agreed.
Like how many times have we tried to talk ourselves into, if this one guy is really awesome, we could be a top 40-ish defense, or so. If Obo Okoronkwo could be awesome every game, right. It's like we've had to talk ourselves into this stuff, and it's like with Brent Coat, we don't have to do that as much anymore. It's going towards that direction. It's like, okay, there's more options.
That's the only way that you were going to win. And so it's, I've been saying this a lot the last few weeks, is that the good news is that Venables is doing it the way that it needed to be done. You had to get in there and get huge and look, the worst thing about Oklahoma overall, it wasn't just that you didn't have all those guys. It was that they got soft. They're not soft anymore.
Who needs to tackle in practice? That's stupid.
Right. They weren't.
Losers tackle in practice.
That's it. And that's what I'm saying, is that now, look, I believe that Oklahoma now, you saw it. I mean, in the Red River game, they were supposed to get dominated in the trenches. They didn't. On either side of the ball.
Well, they won their fair share of battles. They lost their fair share of battles. It was like two good teams were playing each other.
They didn't give up a bunch of sacks like Texas did.
Oh man, it was just some guys got to get healthy this spring. Especially like Gentry's getting healthy, and I think
you still need some things to go right. I've always targeted 2025. Mm-hmm. But I think you've had some things that have kind of fallen in the favor of. Even with that schedule being what it is, I think you've had some things that maybe you could get through with 10-2.
I've been like my thing I will scream about on a soapbox all year is like, if like I've been told how tough our schedule is. So if we win 9 games, we're like number 11 or 12 in this playoff, right?
Get in. Yeah, you should.
Because I keep being told how tough the SEC is, and that's for the past 20 years. That's all I've heard. And you tell me how hard the schedule is.
Is that not the history of it, though? And is that not why y'all went into the SEC?
Yeah.
Because
like because there was talk about
So are you guys saying now that the SEC sucks?
No.
Oh no, I've called out the SEC at certain points where they tried to play the the propaganda at certain points. And not this year. Like, I'm fair when it's like really good. There was some years where it's like Bama, LSU, and Arkansas were like 1-loss teams in the West. It was like more one-sided to the West some year. Like the SEC East for years was like trash outside of like Florida was either really good or Georgia was just really good. It was all in the West for the most part. Like when it was more balanced, it was like from like 07 to like 11 or 12. That's kind of when it was more balanced. Where you had like two or three teams in one division or 2 teams in the other division. Then it just became all SEC West for the longest time. Like,
Coach, all I'm saying is that I don't know that it's like I said, I don't believe in Missouri so much for sure. And look, some of these, you said yourself, LSU's a question because look at what they looked like last year.
But they don't.
And if you're going to get Alabama, you want to get them this year because you get them at home. And they lost a lot on their defensive side of the ball. They've lost, they don't have a quarterback that really throws it, and they got a throwing offense. This is a pretty good opportunity to kind of get a win there. It's not a guaranteed win there either. Tennessee, you got a freshman quarterback there. Oklahoma's got a freshman quarterback. I'm just saying you could lose 3 or 4 games, but you could also only lose 2. I could see that happening because of the way that it's fallen a little bit.
Who's got the toughest, honestly, like who has the toughest defense on our schedule conference-wise?
That's the whole point is I don't know who that is at this point. Is it going to be Ole Miss? I mean, they added some pieces.
Like this, like none of this guarantees us winning all these games, but
No,
it just
no.
what it tells me is it's like it used
I
to
know
be.
they added some pieces at LSU as well, and they got a good coordinator there now. And plus, you got to go to LSU and play probably at night. So
Yeah, like I'm not gonna I am
is.
not penciling in LSU, but it's like Auburn is tough for the environment purposes, as I mentioned earlier. Like, but again, it's like I gotta see it to believe it. And listen, maybe Auburn sneaks up and bites us. You never know. I'm not gonna sit here and I won't be shocked. But
well, you can't be the same OU of old that pissed down your leg.
This is a
Yeah,
it is not going to be that team. I promise you that. But
well, it can't be, because that's
right.
You guys will admit yourselves that even in the Big 12, you'd find a game to piss away.
Well, here's the thing. This is more than just like OU Big 12. This is everybody across the country, because the one thing college football falls in the trap is, oh, you lost in this to a team in this conference. This conference is the
yeah.
If you're like the top dog, whether you're OU in the Big 12,
doesn't matter who you lose to.
SC
you lost the game.
no, SC in their heyday with Pete Carroll or anywhere. Those teams spend all year prepping for you.
Yeah,
it is if they get you in their house, that is the one they want most. It's why Oregon State would jump up and get a Pete Carroll USC sometimes. And it would hurt USC and the BCS because, well, you lost to Oregon State. Dude, Corvallis and the fog sometimes, that's a tough place to go win. You can't afford to
lose your out of conference games if you're going to win in the SEC for sure.
Right. Well, we don't have any. I mean,
yeah.
Thankfully, we don't play Tulane from a couple years ago. I mean, Tulane's going to be different. Houston's down. We got Temple, I think, and then we got Maine, which will be we don't have pay-per-view yet. That'll be SEC.
No, that's going to be
that'll be on ESPN Plus.
That's the SEC cupcake on before rivalry weekend.
Yes, exactly. And that's the one we play before Bama, I think, or something like that. I'm serious. I think that's the game we got before Bama, or we have a bye week before Bama. It's either that. I can't remember which is which.
It's the one before Bama.
But it's gonna feel weird. It's not going to feel real to me until we go to Auburn. And no disrespect to Tennessee, but we kind of have recent memory of playing Tennessee in Norman, so it'll still feel kind of familiar. It's not going to feel real until we go to. It'll feel real when we go to Auburn.
I think Tennessee's a good team, and I think
they're good.
They're going to be better with Nico than they were with that freaking guy that couldn't hit the broadside of a.
Joe Milton, former Michigan quarterback, who they were happy to see leave. So. But it'll feel real once we go to Jordan Hare and
on the road in the SEC. And I think that's where when you go back, it's not that you have a hard game one week, it's then you turn around and you got another one the next week too. You go from home to the road, or 2 road games in a row, or whatever it is. But you get through a game think about this. If you're gonna win the game with Alabama, and again, I'll say I'm not saying that that's a guaranteed win. I'm saying it's your best chance. If it's a better opportunity than if Nick was still there, right? Because they didn't lose all those guys. If he's still there, so
I'm gonna miss Grumpy. We had a chance to have Grumpy Nick Saban on the sideline. Man, but he'll probably be there for game day. Now that I think about it,
I'm sure he will. But even if you win that game, then you got to turn around the next week and go to the fucking.
You just hit a 3 to take the lead on Cincinnati. So sorry, I just went.
That's good. You still got to do that though. You still have to freaking. Yeah, I just saw that too. Yeah, and they were playing trash earlier. They were playing like trash.
Well, JV McCollum was hurt. He didn't play tonight, so that's why. Mm-hmm. So if OU can win this game, they're probably going to the tournament.
To answer your question, though, Coach, no, I'm just saying that, there's going to be some tough games in there, but I also think that there's some things that have kind of fallen in favor of you can have a big-time season if you come together right. If it's going to take that offensive line being good, and it's going to take Jackson's going to have to play well.
I think I personally think I think the interior of that line has the guard center guard, I think has a chance to be really good. I know people say you have to replace your entire O-line. That's true, but I think guard, center, guards, like tackles gonna be tell the story. We're like Sexton's probably gonna play right, and the transfer from Michigan State more likely is gonna play left. They are definitely gonna have to hit the portal after spring. There's just no getting around it. They just need depth. They have to go get bodies regardless, and they got to go replace. They got to replace Jacob Lacey too because he had to retire from blood clots.
That's the hardest part about the new college football is the portal is screwing with offensive lines across the country, though. That's not just happening there.
Yeah,
I love the portal. I don't know, like obviously it hurt us a little bit recently, so I'm not gonna pretend it didn't. But I love the portal for teams like because we're OU, so it's like if you like there's a kid up in Miami of Ohio who's a really good defensive end. He's gonna all right. We'll go get him. Like it sounds like that's ruins Maction and great players coming. It's like, yeah, but those players want to come play at big programs too because they get more exposure and they'll get NIL deals and they'll probably get drafted.
Sean, you said the biggest thing that I think is going to be important. I know you're saying the O line is, it's got to come together, but the depth is the biggest thing you said to me that stood out is the depth because I think that is key in the SEC and across the country, but I think in the SEC you've got to have that depth.
No, I don't doubt, and that's just like what Lemon's saying here. It's going to take us avoiding the injury bug.
Sure,
it is, and look, you saw that's what happened with the defense at the end of last season. Now you've added some more depth there, but your hope is that you can get this line to gel together and that you stay relatively healthy and you have enough depth in the room to continue to do well. I think they've got some players that are going to be fine, but I do think that, I think that is the question everywhere though, is the offensive line. How do you hold it together? Because it doesn't happen everywhere.
I'm hearing good things on Heath Ozeta.
Right.
Sexton, I know he's a little dinged up, but it's like, I'm not worried about. He's okay.
Joshua Bates is, he's looking good too. I know,
So it's just guys they got to push iron. They got to do well in spring. And I think like we're going to have tomorrow is like going to be like kind of like the interview day before ball starts. Like we're going to hear from Brent. We're actually they get to talk to all the early enrollees. So you'll get to hear from David Stone and all those guys. So tomorrow's going to be fun for a lot of OU content out there. But it's, yes, like it feels like every year I say this is the most important spring ball or off season. It's like you can say that about every year, it feels like, but every year it just keeps getting more important. But I'm just
EPL won't be there until the fall.
Who won't be there to the fall?
EPL because he's at that.
And then we got and same thing for like Taylor Tatum. I wish Taylor Tatum was here, but I think we'll be all right. So. For Taylor.
Well, and he's a baseball guy, so he's not gonna be there for most of the springs anyway. I don't think.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a summer enrollee, so he won't get here till like July. So
no, but I mean, moving forward, even how much?
Right. I mean, well, he'll have his moment. Like, I mean, they figured it out. They know how to do it with
Kyler. Like
they did it with Kyler. They'll figure it out. So
right.
Like that's how they sold him on coming to OU. It was like, it was the baseball coach. He said, "Hey man, like this is what we do with Kyler Murray. We can do the same thing with you. This is how it works, so you're not overloaded." And that sold him, man. So I was like,
well, and that room is deep. I think that the question about the only question that I have there is DeMarco going to get his rotation down this year? Because I wasn't happy with what it was not good last year.
Missed the free throw. Good. I think with God, I know we had like if it took forever to get the running game, but Sawchuk finally came around, and I think Sawchuk's your guy. Yes. And it's just you hope Javonte Barnes is healthy now. You want him to get involved. But yeah, for the most part, I feel good about the running back room overall.
I think there's nothing but talent in there. All of them are talented.
Yeah, so the talent is there, especially the
there's not even any of those guys that like Tawi is as good as Tawi was last year. He shouldn't have been that guy. But Javante's a good running back. I still like Javante. I think if he's anything like he was in his first year, Khalib Hicks could be very good.
Caleb Hicks, yeah. Then
I mean, he could be very good. And
then
you
have Xavier, the in-state kid,
Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, he can be a short.
He's 250 already. He's already 250 freaking pounds.
He's your short yardage guy. So
hey, let him be. I mean, look, that guy's a baller. I saw that one video. He literally took that poor defensive end and like one hand bitch slapped him to the ground.
Like if he could be a Mikey Henderson, but like not get arrested, that'd be great. You know what I mean? I know that's cold. I'm sorry, that was me. Hey, but it's the truth.
You got to have a few of those kind of guys on your team to win championships. So.
Yeah. As long as you do that on the field and off the field, don't go beat up your weed guy. It's a bad move.
Yeah,
God, that was a weird April, wasn't it?
Look, yeah, there's got to be.
You beat up your weed guy. Why?
Sawchuck needs the ball. You got to give him the ball. I think that there's a lot, but Taylor Tatum is going to demand the ball too. The guy runs 23 miles an hour.
If that dude, like they're
big,
talking,
he's got a long stride, and he. Hey, Trouty, you're always talking about eating up those little white lines. He does that.
Overtime, okay.
He does that. So I think that it's going to be X-Rob is going to be good too. But yeah, I think that you need Sawchuck to be the guy this year. And look, the offensive line is going to have to be what it is. The receiving room is, man, the problem they're going to have there is there's not enough footballs.
Well, I'm happy we got like Davon Mitchell, and then we got the kid from Baylor who transferred in, who Nate Roberts' older brother from Baylor. Nate Roberts, what you doing? Commit to OU, please. Don't go to Ohio State. You know what you want to do. But no, Davon Mitchell, he's like a super early enrollee. So I'm really glad he's here because God bless Stogner, man. But he was just, that dude's not playing ball ever again. He was just, whenever that dude caught a ball last year and actually made a play, I'm just like, oh, bless that poor child. He's out there. He was just never the same when he had that injury against Kansas where he had like the infection in his leg and everything. It's like he was just never the same after that. I know he went to Carolina for a year, came back, but oh man, just Davon, if we can have a threat at tight end, I know he's a true freshman, but if that dude can have a good offseason, he can be a threat. Like if you can get
250, he should be able to play.
And by the way, like everyone in the country, shame on you for not putting Nick Anderson on any of your wide receiver lists. Like, and I'm not talking about one play versus Texas. It was a great 3-yard touchdown. It was one of the best 3-yard touchdowns I've ever seen in my life. But seriously, that dude like average, like he had the best yard for average for catch.
Yeah.
It's like the dude is like Nick
800
Anderson,
yards on 38 catches.
The dude might be a first rounder, man. And people are not talking about him.
Are we calling Mr. Anderson?
Yes, I'll bring out the Matrix memes, no problem. But it's like I think Nick is like I love his older brother Rodney. He might end up being more beloved than his brother.
Rodney was a stud, bro. His dad's a freaking. Have you seen pictures of him around his dad? He's a monster.
Rodney would have been the Rose Bowl MVP if it weren't for a damn squib kick. But
I grew up with his mother.
Did you, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, we were talking about him. I remember that now that you said that. Look, I think that's the whole deal. I believe that bottom line, offensively, there's plenty of talent there to get it done. You do what you got to do. And the good news with that offensive line is that you have the best offensive line coach. So you should be able to do what you can. Now, the depth, like you said, Coach, it's important. And you're going to have to gel together quickly. But
which you're not. It just never happens that way. So you never gel until like mid-season. That's just the truth, unfortunately.
But if they can hold together enough to. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I was just going to ask another question, and I would just because I think another thing in the SEC too is how big are your offensive linemen?
They're all 300 pounders.
Weight, all 300 pounders. Because I think that's another key too.
Well, I promise you, we ain't running the wishbone triple option with 260 guys.
Well, I'm definitely aware of that. I mean, I'm
No,
aware
look,
you're not
I'll
running
pull up the
wishbone.
depth chart. I've been pulling it up anyways. But so what they've got on the
if you're not at least like 315, I'm worried.
Yeah. So shit.
I was just curious as what that looked like because that's
most of them are like even all of their recruits that they've brought in. I think that the guy that they got from Washington that was on that Joe Moore line, he's going to have to put on some weight, but he's got the size that he can stack it on there. The rest of those guys are all over 6'3", and all of them have been shit. Let me see here. All of them have been showing size, so it looks like it's. I mean, it should be good. But
we were hoping to get that kid's brother to come along with him, but he decided to stay in Washington.
I was kind of surprised that didn't happen, right?
Yeah,
so
he wanted to stay home. So
of the guys that are left, like Logan Howland, 6'6", 284. He was a freshman, right? But
he was always Logan Howland was always going to be a project, but I think give him another year. I think he'll be a really good piece.
That was the end of the year though, but he's a 6'6". He's approaching 300. But then you got Ozeta 6'5", 313, Joshua Bates 6'3", 315, Caleb Schaefer 6'5", 344, Gunnar Allen 6 foot. He's not the guy yet, but he's a project too. Jake Taylor 6'6", 309. Jake
Taylor is the guy to keep
327. I mean, these are guys that are they've got some youth to them, but they're not as. I mean, there is some depth there, right? And on top of what you're bringing in as well, right? And I'm not even talking about the guys that they got in the portal. And you're going to probably hit the portal.
The kid from North Texas they got is supposed to be really good.
Oh yeah, he was Seth Luttrell's like stud that all of a sudden he became. Wasn't he an All-American guy?
Yeah, he was a freshman All-American.
Freshman All-American. Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher his name. I can't pronounce his name, but you know it when you see it. It's like he is definitely. That's why I really believe the interior is gonna be really good because you whether you have I'm blanking on names. The kid we got from Appalachian State who was he's a center. They tried to play him at Everett. The kid Everett. They tried to play him at guard. The dude can't play guard. He's just not big enough. He's meant to be a center. So you put the kid from North Texas in there, maybe Jake Taylor. Maybe like honestly, man, it's like you might put an Eddie Perry. Like if there's one spot you could play a true freshman on an O-line, it's guard. That is the one spot you can play like center. You don't want to put a freshman if you can't tackle. You definitely want to do it.
From Caden Green, they moved him in there. They're going to play him at tackle according to Drink, but
he would have played tackle here too if his dad wasn't a conniving, you know what. So it's like
the dude from Mississippi, 6'7", 305. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again. These are guys that you got to have those big dudes too. That's who you have to go get. I mean, and that's the beauty of it. They're just at it. I mean, they've got crystal balls on. They just got a new crystal ball today on a 5-star offensive tackle, Haywood, out of Denton Ryan.
Yeah,
and
that's
it looks like that they have a pretty good. They have a pretty good shot at what's his name too.
Fauci.
Yeah, Fasusi.
Yeah. There's a Texas prediction for him, but there's a Texas prediction that came in today, but everything I hear is like that's not based on any info other than the dude just guessing because he's like, I think he ends up at Texas. Do you have anything to back this up? No. Josh McCuistion says
they don't like it. They don't like it that they got freaking the other 5-star kid from Texas. So they're like, no, that's fine.
No, this is like this upcoming class is a really good year to load up
that other
lineman.
3-star tackle that they got coming he's a 4 for Rivals or something like that. But the dude's the same size as Fasusi.
Yeah, I mean size isn't everything, but it's like because
I watched his film, he looks good. He looks
Like
good.
Bray Walker was a big dude, but he had like
The
leg
hardest
feet,
thing to
so,
do though is to judge offensive line talent. It's the hardest thing to figure out.
yeah, like we got Stephen Good. Oh, his last name does not reflect his ability on the field. That was years.
Sometimes they start. Look at freaking Tyler Guyton. He was a defensive tackle at freaking
That's
TCU.
that's what makes Beatonbow the best
On the bench.
is
He was the
because
bench guy at TCU, and he's going to be a first rounder.
yeah, he
in the
took a
draft.
guy. It's like, dude, have you ever thought about playing right tackle? I haven't. Let's try it and see what happens. 2 years later, first round pick.
Sooner Cowboys saying he posted his official visit to Texas in June today. So it's an official visit.
Yeah,
He's gonna go.
He'll see all their swimming trophies. It's great. They got lots of them.
Don't
Swimming hole.
The Cowboys. He's not going to come to Oklahoma.
I those people who say that tend to post on Scoop a lot. And are just
it's Sooner Cowboys is the doom and gloom of all recruiting when it comes to this show.
I always look at the bong half full, and so I always try to have a positive outlook on life. And it's like, listen, it's like the recruiting is getting better. Like I was like that with Grinch, because I know we hate Grinch now, or it wasn't all his fault. His boss was kind of more of the problem, but the recruiting was getting there with the defense. We were getting big 5-star guys. We were starting to turn that page, and then but then you had a yoga instructor as a strength and conditioning coach. Yeah, you can't be doing Taibo every day,
soft, bro. Soft to soft. You can't have it. And that's why I think Coach was talking about that he sees a lot of similarities, is because that's what I loved about Notre Dame is they play freaking physical. Line up and run your ass over both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
That's what they do. So
I give Notre Dame credit. They've been they've gotten back to a point where they've been like a solid like top 12-ish program on the reg.
And in recruiting, when's the last time you saw them constantly in the top 10 in recruiting? It's been a long time. Everybody's always talking about how you can't do that at Notre Dame.
Well, Notre Dame has its advantages and its disadvantages. The problem is, it's like, I mean, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but like there was a lot of old thinking, and they leaned too much, and they were kind of in their own little myopic bubble. And I think they're slowly coming out of that a little bit, because the one thing I think that, this is not a diss at Notre Dame, people who went to the game like in it was the 2013 season, Notre Dame campus is beautiful. Oh my God,
man, that's awesome.
It was. And then everyone I heard that from, they were like 35 or older. And that's great. They have a right to feel that way. I agree with them. I'm 35 and older. I'm over 40 now. Good Lord. But like, what are the opinions of 17 or 18-year-olds? Do they care that the campus is pretty? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But
right now, they want some cash.
Yeah, and and Notre Dame is very isolated. It's like South Bend. I've been to South Bend. It's like right there, and it's like, you're the closest major city. You're going there for other
reasons. The thing is if you're going to Notre Dame, you're going there for tradition. It's same. A lot of it is the same is true with Oklahoma when it comes to that too.
Yeah,
a lot of what you rely on to recruit to these schools is on your tradition and what it is to be a Sooner or a Fighting Irish.
But you can go see an NBA franchise just about 20 minutes up the road. So that does help. That's probably going to make the playoffs and make you run.
Yeah, Indiana, huh? Forgot about that.
It's a little far away.
Look, the thing is that it's just, I think that a lot of that is what it is. And the same is true for USC and places like that. Look, the blue blood schools, that's part of it. Is otherwise, how the hell can you even recruit anything to Nebraska at this point if it wasn't for the fact that their blue blood status and they're going to fill the shit out of that stadium every weekend?
I don't think. I think if you could fall out of blue blood status, I think Nebraska has done that. If it's possible,
it's been bad. It's been bad.
The problem with Nebraska is that I think it really reality really set in when Scott Frost went up there. Scott Frost
And
was
just fell on his face.
He was the prodigal son returns. And they saw what he did, because I saw him do stuff here in Orlando. And I kept telling guys, man, if he gets the call, he's going. If he gets the call, if Dr. Tom gives him a call, he's going.
You have to. It's your
and he did, and he just turned into this. I don't know if he just became an idiot overnight or whatever the hell happened. It's just and then now Matt Rule is the right guy for that job, because
Coach has been saying that Baylor's on its way out ever since he left.
Matt Rule in 2017 was like 1-11. In 2019, he was like 11. He was like 11-2 and should have beaten Oklahoma at least once out of those two times. Yep. Should have gotten at least one of those.
Didn't have a quarterback.
I mean, he had a backup quarterback who was good enough, but the problem, that's what Nebraska needs. And I don't know, it's Nebraska's old advantage in the world was outside of the Florida schools. They were in Notre Dame, they were the one team that was on national TV every week. And then cable decided to wait, we can put every game on now. And then Nebraska is not they're not in that small group of exclusive national TV games anymore. So you don't have that. You can't just recruit California like you used to, because you're on national TV all the time, because everyone's on TV now. So I don't know if Nebraska's ever going to get back to being a power, because they have no in-state recruiting.
And it's tough. You don't really have a pipeline anymore because you're not playing in Texas anymore. So none of those kids are going to want to go there.
You don't have a neighboring state you can go to.
What are you going to? Yeah, no, it's tough. I think it's tough for them, but and being in the Big Ten where the recruiting ties, they're pretty much full there. So I think it's a hard place to do. But I do like Matt Rule as a coach, though.
Oh yeah, dude's legit. And I think for Nebraska this year, I think if they have a decent, they could go 7-0 if things go right. Now they're going to get their heads kicked in by Ohio State the very next week, but if they start 7-0, and the back half of their schedule is a lot tougher, but if they could get to 8, maybe 9 wins if they stay healthy, because they're not going to beat Ohio State. But
their quarterback situation isn't great.
Well, they got a true freshman that allegedly Kirk Herbstreit maybe did something, maybe he didn't. Yeah. I don't think Kirk did anything wrong. But it's if you want to play the true freshman, put his feet to the fire, see what happens. If he's the guy, you play.
Would you do that, Coach? Would you start a freshman right away at a place like Nebraska if he's the top 2 or 3 guy like that?
Again, and I think Shotty alluded to.
He can throw
this earlier, talking about number one potential, and a freshman, guys, is I'm not very smart. I wasn't a very good coach, and I will tell you that playing a freshman, I don't care what level of football you're talking about, playing a freshman is very difficult. Now, they may be very talented. I mean, y'all have one that was in y'all's house this year that was very talented, sitting behind Gable. But again, from my perspective, I would have done exactly what they did. Play Gable. And playing a freshman, you better get ready to get a few ass kickings out of playing a freshman. And the other thing is, you can throw a freshman in there. Hey, a few of those big time hits on his ass, and he's going to become gun shy. And you're going to take somebody that had some great potential, and it's going to be gone. Because they're not going to have confidence in themselves. They don't, it's just a whole different world. You got to have some years under your belt. And I wouldn't want to play a freshman. And again, talking about playing potential. Well, you know what? I'd rather play somebody that I've been in the fire with before and may not have exactly the potential that freshman kid has, but you can bring him along slowly. You don't have to start him. You don't have to play him.
Put him in situationally, do some stuff like that.
But yeah, you just bring him along slowly to adapt to the game. Because, guys, we all know this. The game from high school to college football is a massive, massive difference.
Ooh,
and it comes down to strength, strength being the biggest one. But even the playbook. You hand a college playbook to a kid that just got through playing and reading a high school playbook, guys, it's a whole different world.
Unless you're like Derrick
Plus
Henry or
the
somebody.
speed.
There's very few. Yeah, there's very few. Absolutely. And even
even with Caleb
him,
Williams, he didn't come in
they had
until
to tell him what to run on the damn play every time in the huddle, probably, until he got acclimated. But there's very few that can do that.
True. Caleb Williams, he didn't have to start right away. He started, he didn't even start until after the Texas game when he had done what he had done. But yeah, and he's a different kind of animal when it comes to talent wise.
I don't hate him as much as people might think I do.
I don't
hate him.
I don't.
I
Hey,
hate
when you come back and beat Texas, you will forever have a to place with me. We're good.
I just hate his head coach. That's all.
Biggest down. Yeah. Biggest comeback in Red River history. Me and Caleb are good.
We've had
I'm questioning a little bit about what's going on with him though. I'm not.
He's got a little. I mean, he's got a little diva, but he's also proven to people in the NFL why he's likable. It's like he is actually showing people why people like him so much. Because when you actually dig a little deeper from combine reports and stuff, like, oh, that's why people like him. So it's kind of like when they do.
I like him because of his painted fingernails. I think that's cool.
Yeah, my dad hates him for that. My dad will. I get an earful. It's like
he was wearing a dress on GQ. He was wearing a dress on GQ a few weeks ago.
That's fucking stupid.
Kenny Stills did that once.
Weird to me. Kenny was a little weird.
Yeah, Kenny was a weird dude, but made big plays when it mattered. So he can do what he wants.
I think that there's been a lot of things that have happened. I put a lot of that on Lincoln for the way that it felt like Lincoln could have made the game a lot easier for him, and he didn't. He had a good running back. There was things that they could have done. The hero ball thing, it was like he was trying to force him to win the Heisman again, and that was not the way to go about it. And when you had some of the guys that you had, I mean, I didn't plan on really talking about Caleb Williams a whole lot in this one, and we got to get kind of going from here. But
can we talk about the Cotton Bowl versus Tulane? That was great.
Coach was there watching that and rooting for Tulane the whole way. Ed's a Notre Dame fan.
I was rooting for Tulane too. It's great.
Who wasn't? Who wasn't?
It's hilarious. Anyway.
All right. So guys, thanks a lot for everybody coming in here. If you haven't already hit that like button, we've been pushing 50, 60 people in here all night. We really appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure that you hit that like button for us. Jump in, get our official show merchandise, hofmedia.us/pod merch. And listen, if you are still paying too much for big wireless, it's crazy to do so. Right now, $15 a month for 3 months through Mint Mobile. Unlimited talk, text, and data on the nation's largest 5G network. Jump on there, trymintmobile.com/HOF. $45. You can keep the phone that you have. $45 for 3 months. After that, it would go up to, if you buy a year out, you can buy it for $30 a month after that for unlimited everything. You don't have to stick with big wireless anymore. Check out our link with Mint Mobile. And hey, start saving some money on that shit. Also, join the Hall of Fame Mafia, our channel membership right there at youtube.com/@cfb-pod/join. It's right there next to the super chat and like button as well. Jump in there and do that for us if you'd like to. Get in our Discord. Lots of fun in there as well. We appreciate everybody coming in. Onakuno, Sean, we really appreciate having you in here. We've enjoyed your rants of late, and I had to get you on, and I've been meaning to ask you all week, and I've just been kind of busy. So I was like, ooh, I saw that you were on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I'm going to ask him.
Well, usually Tuesday night's my club night. No, I'm home. I'm a homebody.
Well, good deal, man. We appreciate you coming in. Tell everybody how to find you.
You can find me on YouTube. Finding my username I've had since high school because I'm a weeb. ONIKUNO. It's very easy to find me. And if you follow me on Twitter, if you dare, because I might say something to offend you, because I did that once, and anyway,
We do that.
or twice. Like,
I gotta stay off of Twitter.
Yeah,
Twitter.
I just want to post silly memes and have fun on Twitter and just make jokes, but some people are weird. A lot of weird people on Twitter. But yeah, follow me there, like, subscribe, comment, and when you save all that money from wireless, come give me some of that money too, because these are the worst months for college football YouTubers. Like, we are starving college football YouTubers. February, March are the worst months. Please send me money in March, or I will die. I will starve to death.
Hey, we are actually bringing on. We've got another new partnership that we're coming up with right now. I'll be having all the information out there for everybody. For any of you guys that are golfers, and like golf clothes and stuff like that, they've got some unbelievable stuff, and it's great prices as well. So we'll throw that up there here in the next couple of days for you guys. I just got approved for it, I think, this evening, so I hadn't really had time to mess with any of that. But I'm hoping as Onikuno said, this is the toughest time. So make sure you share the stream with your friends. Sharing is caring, as we say. And look, it's the best time to do it right now. Just hit the like button. It's a free way to help us out. That always helps. So, Coach, any last words for everybody before we head out?
Yeah, hell, just keep looking for stuff to fill the gap right now, and enjoy enjoy preparing for the season with your teams and recruiting. Got a lot of spring ball fixing to come up that's gonna tell us all a lot about how our seasons could possibly look. So
spring
that's what
football,
I'm looking forward to. Yeah,
it's gonna tell us a lot. Are you just being facetious there, or we're gonna find out some stuff? All right, we're gonna find out.
Well, I think every team in the country's got to take a good look at what they're going to have to go pick up, like you said, out of the portal. What they're going to look like. Offensive lines, obviously, that's another thing I think we have in common with OU is we got to see. We lost two tackles to the NFL, and so they were our bookends, and so we're in the same kind of
important
boat.
with the quarterback.
Do what? Yeah.
Important for that good quarterback, right?
Exactly. It's crucial. So we're in that same boat with you guys. But there are things that coaches need to see in the spring of who can rise. Some of those younger kids and even some of those freshmen that are on campus early. You need to get a good look at them in the spring.
No doubt. Yeah, and Sooner Legends podcast. Make sure you guys get over there and check out the Sooner Legends podcast with Mike. He's been putting out some killer content, a lot of historical information that, man, you think you remember all that stuff, and then Mike throws some stuff out there like, oh shit, I forgot about that. Great show, love it. He's adding a lot to it all the time, and got his new computer. It's going to be really cool moving forward. Thanks a lot for everybody coming in here, and hey, Bishop Frank, another bought his membership again. Thank you, Bishop Frank. Appreciate that, and a super chat as well. 24K gold standard plus Powerline app. Hey, Oklahoma, we're hoping for good stuff coming. Moving forward. Hey, lots of stuff coming on this channel, on our channel, the Sooner Magic podcast channel as well. We're going to start moving a lot of that Oklahoma stuff over there so we can keep more of the national stuff on this channel. So make sure if you're not already subscribed to that channel, jump over there and do that as well. Thanks a lot, Sean, for coming in. We appreciate you, man. And Coach, as always, love having you guys on. Love all you guys in the comment section. Thanks for supporting the channel. We will see you all on the next one.
Later.